And while we sit and look at the Baylor women hosting, they do get that spot to play at Foster Pavilion. I don't like the draw they got at all. So they just sneak into the hosting portion of it as a 4 seed. You remember they were a 5 last year. They had to go up to Blacksburg. They got it done in the second round and moved on to the Sweet 16, but now they get the comforts of home, which I think is a big advantage. I think that's great. And I'm hoping they're going to get a great crowd there. The timing doesn't help a lot because this will be right after the men's game. The men play at 11:15 a.m. Central Time, and the ladies are going to play at 2:30. So you have about an hour between the end of the men's game and the beginning of the women's game to get over to Foster Pavilion and see that thing play out. Like if you're traveling down, first off, you're traveling down to Waco or up to Waco, like get in there early lunch, go to a place like the Brazos Landing, the great people down there, Becky and Claude Lindsay, and you go and you watch the game on all their TVs, and then it's going to be a beautiful day. You can sit out on the balcony, and then you go across the street to the Foster Pavilion, and you're there for the women's game. And it should be a good one because they got the best 13 seed in the country, okay? The Grand Canyon Antelopes are coming into town, coached by Molly Miller with a ton of bravado, okay? I don't like this draw at all. And people are going to be saying, Gab, it's a 13 seed. It's Grand Canyon. That's not a state. That's a landmark. How can you not like that draw? Well, mainly because, and maybe I won't have to go too much further than this, they've won 30 games in a row. 30. I don't care what conference you're in. You're a Division I team that has won 30 games in a row. That's incredible, okay? This reminds me so much of 2010 in the men's tournament with Butler. Now, Butler was a 5 seed, people conveniently forget, but they were like, oh my gosh, Butler out of nowhere. They had won 25 straight games going into the tournament. They shouldn't have been sneaking up on anybody. And I warn you against discounting this Grand Canyon team. Molly Miller was a candidate for the Baylor coaching job when Nikki Collin got it a couple years ago. And it seems like a big step down to go to Grand Canyon instead. And look what she has done. Will I say it one more time? Yes, I will. 30 wins in a row. Okay? She's not just a very good-looking coach. She's also very good at it, like really good at it. And this is going to be a great coaching matchup, man. Molly Miller versus Nikki Collin. Winner gets the winner of the 5-12 seed matchup, which doesn't have as many upsets as it does on the men's side. But I think you should be just a little bit worried about this Grand Canyon team. And you've got a Baylor team that could be wounded of confidence here. Could be. I'm not saying they are. I don't know what's going on in there. And we're certainly hoping they don't carry over their 2 championship game losses into the NCAA tournament. But there's certainly that possibility that it's lingering, that they know how it's been for them in crunch time. And when you face a team as confident as one like Grand Canyon, that could come back to bite you. It just could. But you look at what that next matchup could be. Ole Miss versus Ball State, the 5-12. Ole Miss, as a 5 seed this year, not quite where Baylor was as a 5 seed last year, if you could to kind of contextualize it for the Baylor fans listening. Ole Miss this year, while barely kind of in the top 25, they finished that last poll at 25, 2-9 against ranked teams this year. 2-9. That's a lot of big game losses. Okay? Baylor didn't have that many. They had some losses against top 5 teams, but they didn't go 2-9 against them. And I will give Ole Miss some credit. They did beat another team in this region. They did beat LSU during this season. And I talked about last week about possibly having UCLA as the 1 seed, which is what they get. Again, you don't feel confident going up against any 1 seed, right? Like that's not how it works. But I will say this, at least it's one you've seen this year. You lost to them. Okay, I know. But just to have that kind of familiarity. You just don't get that a lot in the NCAA tournament on the men's or the women's side. And you're usually not getting it right away. This would be a Sweet 16 game. But I do think that there's some sort of an advantage, almost like a pressure on UCLA kind of thing. Like you beat them once, and now that doesn't matter because you're going up against them in the NCAA tournament. What could be interesting, and one we'll talk about certainly at another point this week, is we're getting way ahead, but if they get to the Sweet 16 and they beat UCLA, chances are the team they would meet in Spokane in the Elite Eight with a chance to go to the Final Four would be the LSU Tigers. And I don't need to tell you who's coaching them. That could be one of the most, if not the most anticipated game in Baylor women's basketball history, if that one comes to fruition. And mind you, this is a team that has won 3 national championships. I'm just saying, you're going to be hard-pressed to find one that's got more hype around it than that one would. But the message, I mean, you got to take it one game at a time, to use the oldest cliche in the book. It's NCAA tournament time, one bad half, and you're out. I don't love facing a team in round 1 when it looks like it's a privilege that you get to host, to get a team that's won 30 games in a row. But maybe if they really didn't want that, they should have won one of those Big 12 championship games. Maybe that's the way to look at it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, please, in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, or tweet at us at Locked On Baylor. If you're listening wherever you get your podcast, is this a tough draw for the ladies? Or are they going to run away with this one? Are you worried about Grand Canyon in round 1? How confident are you in a matchup with number 1 UCLA in the Sweet 16? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. Most of you watching still are not subscribed. Ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're going live, because it's going to happen a couple of times this week, and hopefully a couple of times during the weekend as well, as we have got March Madness upon us. Thank you for making it to the end of the video, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network part of your daily routine. We have got you covered with the most Baylor Bears athletics coverage of any outlet that's not directly tied into Baylor University. So if you want more of that, be sure to like and subscribe. Ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're dropping a video here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, and sick 'em.